Welcome to Marketplace Live. Let's defy gravity.
I'd like to welcome everybody today to our event, and our subject matter is going to be Defying Connectivity, Limitless Capabilities, and our guest today is Ivo from DE-CIX. Welcome, Ivo. Please, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Ben, and my pleasure to be part of this great virtual edition of the Marketplace of Digital Realty. My name is Ivo Ivanov, CEO of DE-CIX International, responsible for strategic market development and company strategy in general. DE-CIX, as you might know, runs interconnection platforms, internet exchanges in 26 markets worldwide. In North America, we are present in markets like New York or Dallas. Mainly connected to our platforms worldwide are more than 2,200 networks. A big mix of different business models. You can find actually every single one which exists today on the planet has a business model on the DE-CIX platforms. And the entire connected capacity is more than 75 terabit, which is spectacular. And last week, Ben, we did another world traffic record in Frankfurt, hitting the 10 terabit live traffic exchange. Which makes DE-CIX Frankfurt, for instance, the platform itself, the largest one on the planet so far if it comes to live tracking. That's around DE-CIX so far.
Well, thank you, and that congratulations on that new record. I think it's perfectly in context of what we're talking about today. With the pandemic, obviously, a variety of all businesses have moved more stuff online. There's more data being created, more data being exchanged. I think one thing that's unique to both you and I in our positions that we have in our organizations is we get to see that real time, and we get to work with those companies as our customers and our partners to help facilitate that. I think the one thing that we've seen on our side is obviously growth in connectivity, both physical and virtual, needing to support that growth. I guess one question is, you talk to your customers and partners, if you're talking to a CIO as an example, how can they achieve that limitless connectivity so they can do that spontaneous expansion that we've seen over the past 6 or 7 months?
Yes, this is a great question because this is extremely related to the future and to the future demand of organizations like the big Fortune 500s and actually everybody who is involved in the global business today, but even not in the global, even in the regional business, digitalization is everywhere. And in the discussions you mentioned, and in fact, we do talk to a lot of CIOs, we understand that they are looking for more flexibility and more dynamics on how they take decisions, how they can execute decisions on connectivity. The limitless connectivity answer is the golden answer today. And I believe one part of the answer is to make sure that the network they have to maintain, the resources they have to maintain becomes more elastic. So they have different sources of connectivity. They rely on professional partners to serve their computing needs, to serve their resources. We do see a huge trend of migrating from on-premise applications of the enterprise into professional data center operators like Digital Realty as a company operates and others. But this is a huge trend, and of course, to take their hands on the journey of their data. This is extremely important to know how their data travels, what different paths the interconnection they need to do takes, so they can manage this, they can scale it properly, and this will lead at the end of the day to a limitless connectivity. Because if you have different options, if you work with professional service operators who do have very elastic offering, very flexible offering in terms of not only contractual terms, but actually almost by-click functionality to increase and modify connectivity options, this creates the freedom every single CIO deserves and wishes to have.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and one thing we've seen is similarly is that companies are moving from that on-prem locations that they might have been holding on to much more rapidly than probably was their original plan through the pandemic. And one thing that we've seen, and when we talk to the CIOs, is how do they create that flexibility, in essence, future-proof, both from a physical infrastructure standpoint, but more specifically on the network side. So leveraging hybrid cloud, how do they move their data between anything that still resides on-prem, or now all of us who are remote employees, how are we interfacing all of that data? And the one thing I think is interesting, and you can talk very well to this, I believe, is how do customers leverage peering from kind of a single home network, and how do they become multi-homed, and how does that help leverage their evolution when they do this type of migration, or they embrace basically a more remote type of work environment?
This is in fact a huge trend, and this trend is driven by two main factors. The multi-home peering trend is driven by two main factors. The one factor is reducing further the latency, localizing also their resources for more localized peering interactions in different markets. And the second factor is, of course, creating a better resilience. I want to give you a great example from a finance organization, which told us, listen, guys, I decided to start looking into peering or interconnection at a platform like DE-CIX, which is distributed and entirely multi-homed over many different data centers, for one a very interesting reason. They have been asked by a regulatory authority for their plan how to mitigate their cloud concentration risk. You can perfectly do this also using peering or private peering into the cloud. Some of the stakeholders in our industry, they call it cloud exchange. There are different names for this, but in fact, it ends up into a different private cloud connectivity interconnection. And if this interconnection is done physically in a multi-homed approach, this is a very good approach to mitigate a risk of a cloud concentration, because the access to different clouds can be also in the physical layer created in a more secure and reliable way and resilient way. But also the way to distribute also the sources of cloud computing resources is important. So to use many different cloud resources at one platform, physically distributed, is actually the perfect answer to this. And this is what for instance, DE-CIX sees also as a peering demand on our platform, that private cloud peering happens more and more often, where different participants from different physical locations, they initiate interconnections into different cloud service operators from one platform. And this gives organizations like the finance one I mentioned a great opportunity to mitigate their cloud concentration risk.
And we're seeing the same thing. We see customers adopting our Service Exchange and Cloud Connect products globally now for that exact type of diversity, being able to connect to cloud operators both in region, but also getting redundancy potentially in other regions where they can get more robust types of diversity. And you know, the other piece that we've seen is that when companies move from that on-prem that we spoke about previously, we start with them as what we call a network hub. And with the network hub, they can then build those types of relationships, both the physical layer, the virtual layer, with peering, with physical interconnect, but then also bring in the data hub. And that's typically the piece that we've seen stay on the on-prem historically, is that compute component. And now we're starting to see that evolve, and we've been leveraging our data hub product to do that. I know you guys help facilitate that when you talk to customers, leveraging that peering to start moving the physical network and the data piece, and then the infrastructure follows. I think with that, when you talk to CIOs, they want to be everywhere, serve everybody. How are you helping to facilitate that? What do you answer? Because it's kind of like I want it all at the same time. And I think with the way that you guys have built your business, you help them kind of evolve that type of solution.
Yeah, it's absolutely, this is absolutely correct. Everybody wants to have resilient and robust interconnection infrastructure everywhere where the organization has business with, right? And that's a huge trend. Our answer to this is first, to create a global coverage, being present in more and more markets with physical setups. We do this directly. We do this with our partners. We do this also using the DE-CIX Internet Exchange as a service, our Apollon Availability Zone program, where we help different partners to create their own ecosystem using the DE-CIX technology. So DE-CIX has access to this as well. In general, our answer is to offer in the global contract as many as possible markets and physical points for interconnection globally, also interconnected by themselves. So this creates a huge, nice meshed interconnection network for an organization, where a company which has a global presence can localize their traffic. I give you an example. If it comes to Microsoft 365 connectivity needs, they can do this on different DE-CIX platforms using the DE-CIX collaboration with Microsoft for M365 connectivity called Maps, which is peering for 365 connectivity on the exchange directly. And if this is done locally, this increases dramatically the performance. There are no loops needed anymore from the Middle East over London and back, or from out of New York over Iowa and then back. So we can localize this much better. This creates actually the performance improvement these organizations need, especially in our pandemic situation. As you can imagine, all organizations today literally rely on robust digital applications, and those applications, they are extremely latency sensitive. So if we are able to reduce the latency dramatically, as in my Maps example, below 30 milliseconds, if we are able to reduce the latency for all applications actually we have today, even for this one, we're using live now in an absolutely symmetric way, when we need a high def quality, at the same time the application is so latency hungry, sensitive I'm saying, then we need to rethink in terms of infrastructure and localize the interconnection of traffic. And this is, by the way, Ben, one of my favorite summaries of what happens outside. I would say currency, latency became the new currency. This is what we have, and our strategy follows this summary.
Well, thank you, and I think that what you just pointed out is hits close to home, right? I mean, it used to be the financial vertical was the latency sensitive types of customers, and what we're seeing is that's growing exponentially across all different types of segments of customers. And I think one of the things that we've seen is streaming and gaming companies as an example. I guess in your work, are you helping to facilitate that, or and I think, and maybe you've already spoken a little bit about it, but trying to do multiple regions to try to source the data in that region versus going between regions to move it. Is that the type of stuff that you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. I will not get tired to repeat this. Peering is the perfect product for live sports streaming, for live streaming events, for gaming. It's a perfect product because it's extremely localized. It gives all networks the ability to interconnect directly with the gaming networks, the streaming companies, to interconnect directly with the eyeball networks where the users are sitting on. And this is the quality everybody in the office or in the home deserves. So using the direct interconnection on the DE-CIX platforms for exactly this type of business is the perfect solution, because nobody loves the pixels. Nobody loves to see that in a great online gaming performance, the friend in the team is better just because of a better connectivity. Everybody wants to enjoy equal technical standards. So, and this is what we see, by the way, is a trend that a lot of gaming companies, they started to look aggressively into peering, because, to be very honest, Ben, if you look, what are the other options? And this is valid for the enterprise sector in general. the approach is still to use a lot of transit upstream, is to use MPLS, etc. I'm not saying this doesn't work. No, it's okay, and it's a great product with many organizations worldwide. But for some needs, and in the future even more, it's an outdated approach. For some more sophisticated applications and for the innovation of network and interconnection needs, we need different, more innovative solutions in the future.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I'm not going to try to date myself, but I remember when I started online gaming probably 15, 20 years ago, that piece that you talked about hit close to home. Whoever had the fastest internet connection, who was ever closer to where a data center resided. If you were in Manhattan, you had a better user experience than if you were in a rural area. So I think, it has evolved significantly. I think that kind of just, that evolution is now everywhere on everything we do. So, Ivo, I want to thank you for today. I thought this conversation was great. I also want to thank you for helping to facilitate the growth in our data centers and with our customers as we work together. And I want to appreciate everybody's time. And there'll be a number of other events after ours today. So hope to have you join it. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ben. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.